is up, you guys? Film Fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review A Quiet Place. So A Quiet Place stars John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, and what this film is basically about. It's about when this family, they're in this post-apocalyptic world, and there are creatures that have taken over basically this world, and you cannot make any noise near these creatures. No strong noise around these creatures, because if they hear it, they will basically kill you. And now this family has to live like this, where they can't make any noises. They can't even talk to each other, like speaking, because it would just be too loud and they can hear them. So yeah, now this family has to try and survive in this world with these creatures without making any noise. So what did I think of A Quiet Place? Now, going into A Quiet Place, I was really looking forward to this movie. I thought it had some really great potential. It looked really creepy and looked really eerie from all the trailers. I really like John Krasinski a lot as an actor, so to see him, this isn't his first time directing a film, but this was like his first one that's major, I guess you could say, really putting him in the limelight, I guess. And I was really looking forward to seeing what John Krasinski could do with this movie, and take it in with a horror direction, stuff like that. I was very interested to see where he could take it. So yeah, and the trailers looked great, so I was really looking forward to this movie. Do I always have to be the one guy? Do I always have to be the one guy that, the movie is getting tons and tons of great reviews and stuff like that, and I'm the one that just doesn't care for it? Do I always have to be that guy? Because unfortunately, I didn't care for this movie. I honestly really didn't. I felt like A Quiet Place was very mediocre to me. And that might come as a surprise to some people, honestly, but I really didn't enjoy this movie, to be honest with you. There's some really good things about the film, but there's some things that I really didn't like about it either, honestly, and kind of outweighs it for me saying that it's good. But I didn't necessarily think that this is a bad movie, but at the same time, I didn't really care for it. I think it's kind of mediocre, to be honest with you. So yeah. Well, let's get into my positives first. Let's talk about what I liked first. Firsthand, I did think the acting was really good. I did think everyone did a great job, honestly, in the film. John Krasinski is great. He doesn't speak all that much, just along with the other characters and stuff like that. For the most part, they don't really speak. But his, emotional, physical performance is really great. It really comes off genuine and, emotional and stuff like that. I thought he was really good. Same goes with Emily Blunt. I thought she was great, too. I did think she did a great job in the film. And it goes with, honestly, the kid actors as well. I thought they were really good, too, honestly, in the film. I thought they did a good job in the movie. So I will say the acting is really good from everybody in this film. I thought the acting was pretty solid in the film. There were times where I did think the movie was really intense, honestly. There were some points where I did feel the intensity and did feel on kind of the edge of my seat and wondering what was going to happen next. So there were moments like that where I did feel like there was tension, and I was feeling on the edge of my seat, wondering what was going to happen next. So I will say that there is some good tension building and some good intense moments in this film that I thought were pretty well handled. I did think the chemistry between the family was pretty solid. I thought, I did think it was enough to make it be they're family, they care for each other. So I did think the chemistry between all of them was really good. The writing is pretty solid too, even though, like I said, there's not much dialogue in here because they gotta be really quiet. But I will say the writing is pretty solid with the film. Directing is really great. I will say it is probably my favorite element of this entire movie. I did think the movie was well directed. John Krasinski does have potential as a director. It does show, even though I didn't really care for this movie, it does show that he does have potential as a director. I thought the movie was very well shot, very well edited. Cinematography was really good with the movie too. So I will say he did do a very solid job directing this film, in my opinion. I will say that the pacing it's 50-50, I'll say. It was really good because, like I said, there were moments where I was really interested in the film. I was interested to see where it could take it, honestly, and there were some moments where I did think the pacing was good and where I wanted to see where the story could go next at points. Now the negatives. I do have quite a few negatives, unfortunately, with this film, and they are first being, I didn't really, even though I did say they do have good chemistry with each other, I never feel like, beyond, oh, they're a family, that's why I should care for these characters, give us some little bit of background, there's never really an explanation of why this world is like this, what the hell happened, there's never really an explanation about it, nobody ever, brings it up this is what happened and everything. I would have liked to have known what they, sometimes mystery is good, but sometimes it just kind of feels like it's just like we're thrown into this now, we're thrown into this world, what caused it, what happened to this world, what happened to Earth, what caused these creatures to do this. So I felt like there should have been a little bit more explanation towards that, you know what I mean? And I thought they should have just done that a little bit more. I thought there could have been a little bit more of an explanation towards that. I thought the score, I felt like this movie should have had a lack of score, considering that this is a movie that, is very quiet, gotta be very quiet. I felt like the score wasn't really necessary for this film. It just felt out of place for me in this movie, considering of that it's gotta be, very quiet, very subtle, can't make any and also, not to mention that the score is pretty bland, honestly, for the movie as well, I really did think so, honestly. I thought the score was very bland. It didn't add anything to the movie for me, to be honest with you. And I could have felt like they could have just done away with it, considering of this movie is supposed to be, very quiet. We're supposed to be quiet and everything like that. And I really didn't think they needed to have a score in this film, to be honest with you. I felt like the lack of score could have worked for this movie. And just whenever they use it, it kind of just feels out of place for me. And the score isn't even that good to me. So, I just felt like it was just completely just kind of thrown in there. I get it's a horror film. A lot of horror films love to use music and stuff like that, but I just felt like for this movie, it could have just been dealt away, if you get what I'm saying. So, yeah, I felt like just the movie could have used a lack of score, honestly, considering if this is a movie about, oh, we have to be super quiet, it could have been way more interesting and way more effective if they didn't use that, and the fact that the score isn't even that good kind of adds to that. I felt like the third act was, really predictable. The third act was, very, just the third act is probably my biggest problem with this movie. The third act is really bland, to be honest with you. It's just, there's some things that happen in here. It feels like a typical horror movie third act to me. Honestly. It was very predictable. I saw where things were heading, honestly. I was just okay, I was just sitting there with a bored look on my face the entire time, not to mention that the ending is abrupt as hell. Oh my god, do they just end the movie, it's just like that. Okay, the movie just ends like that. And I'm okay, I kind of left unsatisfied, honestly. I was alright, that's it? Okay. I just felt like the ending was so abrupt and so, just out of left field that it was okay, the movie's just ending now? Alright, whatever, it's just... And I just really didn't feel like the third act was, really not that good. Honestly, it was pretty poorly handled, honestly. I really felt like the third act was not that well handled, honestly, and they could have done a much better job with it, honestly, and it just really felt predictable and really felt like in every typical horror movie third act, to be honest with you. I felt like the story wasn't nearly as interesting as it could have been. I felt like they could have handled it a lot better, to be honest with you. Like I said, there were moments where I was interested in the film and I was grasping towards it, but I felt like for the most part the story is really not that interesting to me. I felt like they could have done a way better job with it, especially with a concept like this. I felt like, I feel like the concept for this would work more as a short film than a full-length feature. That's just me, though. That's just how I feel, but I really didn't think the story was all that interesting for the film. The creatures, I felt like were really kind of... The way that they deal with the creatures, and plus how they look, the special effects on them are not that great. They kind of look really, no, I don't want to say they look bad, but they don't really look all that necessarily great either. Like, they really don't, to be honest with you. And like, I heard that this movie was, like, the writers considered making this movie a Cloverfield movie, and, like, the creatures do kind of look Cloverfield-esque, so I could see why. But, I just really felt like they didn't look all that great. I didn't really find them that intimidating for the most part, to be honest with you, too. I thought they were kind of, honestly, but, yeah. And lastly, the pacing can get a little bit boring. Like, the movie can get boring, honestly. Like, I feel like it kind of drags out. Like I said, this movie could have worked more as a short film for me, more than a full-length feature for me, to be completely honest with you. Because it kind of does drag out, even though the movie's only an hour and 30 minutes, it kind of feels dragged out. I felt like they could have done a better job with that, honestly. Like, it feels kind of dragged out. And I'm like, okay, kind of move it along and kind of just get where you need to go, honestly, because you're just dragging this out, to be honest with you. So, yeah. So overall, A Quiet Place, while I didn't think it's a bad movie per se, I didn't really care for it all that much either. I thought the movie was kind of just bland, to be honest with you. I thought it was okay at best. It's a very, very mediocre movie to me. I do think it's really overrated. You know, if you enjoyed the movie, that's completely fine with me. I really don't, you know, mind. It doesn't bother me. That's your opinion. That's what you think. You know, like, if you love the movie and you enjoyed it, cool. I'm glad you did. Just for me, I really didn't find what was so great about it. I just kind of found it to be a bland movie, to be honest with you. I thought it could have been a lot better, to be honest. So it's time for my official grade on A Quiet Place, and my official grade on A Quiet Place is a C+. It's okay at best to me. I really wish I could have, you know, I wish I could have been like everybody else, you know. I love the movie, and, you know, I think it's great, but unfortunately, for me, I just didn't really care for it, to be honest with you, and I really thought the movie could have been a lot better, to be honest with you. So, A Quiet Place, although not a bad film, I just didn't really necessarily care for it as well. Very bland, in my opinion, so yeah, gets a C+. So, if you have seen A Quiet Place, what did you think of it? Leave in the comment section below. I'm FilmFan0599, and we will see you out later. Peace.